Well, good morning. Join me this morning on banks of the local river roos. It's the second day of the fishing season. It's a Sunday, and I've come down for a few hours today to have a go on the slider. I'm just literally finished setting the slider up, just sort of fine tuning it. I know what distance I'm going to be fishing, and I've plumbed up. I've put about six balls of ground bait out about that size, so I'll go into the mix in a minute, but I'm just sort of fine tuning the slider now. Got a couple of sliders set up, got the other one up the bank ready to go as well, so I'm just sorting this one out. The rod I'm actually going to use for the slider today is one which I haven't used before, which is a Cadence CR10 14 foot number 2. I picked this up the other week and I've been quite looking forward to the season starting to actually have a go with it to see how it performs. For the last couple of seasons I've been using an old Shakespeare Mach 3 and a Adrenaline Match Pro, but I had a look at this and I spoke with James at Cadence, and this fits the bill for my type of slider fishing perfectly. They do a number 1 and also a number 3. The number 1 was too soft, and the number 3 is a little bit heavy for this sort of style of fishing. Perfect if you're going on the Y or the 7, big bollo floats. Perfect for that. But this number 2, like I say, is spot on. I've got this matched up with a CS8 4000 reel, and I've got £6 main line there, which is the new Dave Harrell Pro Float. Again, new line to try as well to see how we get on. I used his feeder line yesterday, which I thought was absolutely brilliant, and I wanted a robust sort of float line, and this looks like it's going to tick all the boxes. So what I'm actually going to be fishing is a 10-gram slider. So look, I've got £6 main line, and I've got the hook length, just a quick change swivel there, and that's 10 inches of 010 Aspire Silk Shock to a size 16 Preston PR34 344 hook. The shot in itself, those of us in a couple of the videos last year know it's looks a little bit Heath Robinson, but I've got an 8-gram Olivet there, and I've got a line of number 9 shot. Now believe it or not, I think there's about 36 in there, so it took a bit of a while to put them on, and I was just fine tuning it just with another couple just to get the float where I want it. That acts as a stiff boom for when you're casting, so you don't get any wrap overs. The stop knot, which is there, as you can see, I've used different coloured line. That's Stone River on there, and the reason I use that, I started using it last year to tie my stop knots. Again, it's quite robust, but also it sticks out like a sore thumb, and you know exactly where it is coming through the rings, and you know exactly where it is sort of when you plumb the depth is a mental guide as well. So that's a nice little tip there, using different colour. I've got a small sliding very fine bead there, and that sits above the float, so as that slides, and that will butt up against the stop knot there, and that stops the knot going through the eye of the float. This one in particular is a 10-gram Perfect. Like I say, I've got another one set up as well, just in the hold all, which I've got to get out in a minute. And what I'm actually going to put on there is a 10-gram Dino Slider Champion Bream. I've got a couple of these, both with different tips, as you can see there. So if the water was quite choppy, I'd choose the thicker tip there. If it was flat calm, or the fish were shy biting, I'd actually use that tip there that's got like a carbon insert. As you can see, it's a little bit longer than what the other one is, and that is it's a little bit finer, and that is very, very sensitive, and literally you can dot that down and the smallest roach will absolutely bury that float. Now the bigger difference with these sliders is there's no sort of brass attachment on the end. So what you have to do, got one here, is just a big float adapter there. They're on the Dino Floats website, thebestfloats.co.uk, and that'll sit over the top of the moulding at the bottom of the float, and again, by using a small bead, that will then trap against the eyelet of that swivel, and that will stop the knot going through. I've got quite a selection of different sliders for different conditions. There's a 12 gram there. There's an 8 gram. And believe it or not, I've got a 4 gram as well, which you might think the 4 gram is very, very light, but in fact sometimes the river here doesn't move. And when it can be flat calm and the river's not moving, it's very, very hard fishing conditions. So sometimes what I like to do is actually just fish a smaller slider, and that gives the bait a very, very slow fall through the water, and sometimes can entice that all-important bite. The main part of my rig where I've got the shot, and it's something I've done for the last couple of years, is from underneath the olivet is a normal loop to loop. Then I've got a length of fluorocarbon down to the swivel. Fluorocarbon has no memory, again, which is good for aiding it with wrap overs and twists and tangles. So what I actually use is a metre length of 020 fluorocarbon, which is actually 5.6 pound. Like I say, it's got no memory, so I've got the bulk, like the boom of shot to stop the wrap over, and because that's got no memory as well, that also aids. And also when that's falling through the water, it's quite low visibility through the water and invisible, and that gives a nice, because it's nice slow fall through the water as well, and there's no shot down that line other than the weight of that swivel. So giving that nice slow fall through the water, again, I think is not only good to prevent tangles, but also for bite detection as well. So that's the actual rig. Like I say, plenty of sliders, so I can change about. On the other rod, I'm actually going to, again, I'm going to fish a 10 gram, so I'm going to put this one on. Depending on what's what with the wind, don't know how it's going to get up later on. We'll see how we go. Like I say, there's 2 gram loading on there, and there's a 3 gram loading on the other one. So just see the difference between the two floats, how they perform today. We'll say hooks, PR344s. I've got 1 or 2 sort of tied up in here as well. 1 or 2 decided to try and make an escape. So I've got some 09, 010 and 011, all of which are Shimano Spire Silk Shot. I think keeping things the same, not complicated, is definitely a plus point with the slider. You don't want to be all fancy, have shots dotted down the line. It's just literally got to be simple, straight out. I mean, you're not fishing the finesse of a 4x14 or a 4x12 float like you might do on a canal. This is actually deep water, 16 foot deep. You want to get it straight to the bottom. So that's the float set up. Got all that ready to go. I've got some casters. which I've put a few casters in with the mix. I've got some red maggots there, which what I'll probably do with the red maggots if I fish them on the hook is I'll actually roll them on my leg just to deaden them off and fish those on the hook, either double or treble dead red. I've got some worms. I've got a spare bag of worm as well. And we've got plenty of ground bait. I've also got a tin of corn, because sometimes if there's some hybrids about, they might actually take the corn a lot better than what they take the maggot. Oh, quick slurp. So ground bait. You might be able to guess what it is. That's Bait Tech Pro Natural Bream. A little bit of crushed hemp, but instead of the normal Pro Natural Dark, what I'm actually using is the Pro Natural Dark Extra Fine. So it's the Dark Fine Lake. That just, not so many big particles in with the mix, even though the two ground baits mix up really well together anyway. There's not so many particles in it, and this makes this a lovely fine mix, which I think with the skimmers and hybrids about is absolutely vital, so as it doesn't fill them up very quick and hopefully keep the fish feeding. Like I've said, I've put 6 out, sort of tangerine, small orange sort of size, and I'm fishing about 1/3 the way across the river. So I've got 16 foot of water there, and I've set it so it's just sat on the bottom, because the water's running slightly this morning, so the float will be tripping through. So as it's running, I've fed 4 balls just down the swim a little tiny bit, and I've fed 2 balls directly in front of me. And the reason for that is, predominantly if it's running now, part way through the session, then this water's going to stop. It's going to stop flowing. And by putting 2 balls in front, dead in front of me, I can literally cast dead in front, and I know I'm over the top of some ground bait. So that's how I've kick-started the swim. If I'm getting 1 or 2 bites and it dries off, then all I'll do, I'll just make up 1 ball of ground bait, sort of this size. So I'll make up 1 ball. It's got a few casters in it, a little bit of chopped worm. I'll make up 1 ball that size, and I'll put that directly in front of me. So that's if the bites die off. I'm not going to loose feed. Sometimes I loose feed hemp, or if I'm fishing corn I might loose feed some corn. I'm not going to be loose feeding it all. I'm just going to rely on the ground bait to draw the fish in the swim. But like I say, hopefully get 1 or 2. So I've got the initial start up, I'm ready to go. I'm now going to set the other rod up, have it by the side of me, so I can chop and change between the two, just to see if there's any difference. Look, this one's going to be dead depth. I'm going to set the other one probably about 1 foot off the bottom, because the skimmers and hybrids can actually drift up off the bottom, which, if you know, they intercept the bait as they're going through. So by having that set up just off bottom, can keep you in touch with the fish as well. So I'm now going to get that sorted. I'm going to finish my cup of coffee, then I'm going to get out there and see if we can't catch 1 or 2 fish. Hopefully, by the time I'm done, the ground bait I've put in, they might be sat there ready to go. Hopefully anyway. I'll catch you in a bit. Oosh.